Well, folks, here again for the weekly forecast. Of course, during this last week, once again, we dealt with a considerable amount of precipitation across the state, and we did see the drought monitor reflect some of the changes in this heavy precipitation, with just a small little area in south central Nebraska still showing abnormally dry conditions. And really it was because most of the major precipitation that fell within that region fell after the deadline on Tuesday morning. So we would expect a complete elimination of the D0 conditions in Nebraska. More importantly, CPC has also issued an update on the latest La Nina El Nino situation, and they're upping their probabilities of La Nina conditions developing is now up above 70%. Last year I talked about these moderate and strong events in the crop watch issue. Basically what we look back in historical precedents, 4 out of every 5 of these events moved into a La Nina condition during that year. So let's take a look at the sea surface temperatures and see if we can see some of the early signs of La Nina developing. And here we have the upwelling cold water starting to show up in the eastern Pacific. We still have a batch of warm water out in the central Pacific. That's helping feed some of the moisture up into the southwest, and these systems that are coming up in the northern flow are getting cut off over the Intermountain region as a cutoff over low, and then slowly sagging their way out into the central plains. And that's a result of we're seeing a lot of heavy precipitation. So as we go forward in time, we should see less and less of these cutoff upper lows, and we should start to see a progressive nature with the northern stream. The big question is, where does that ridge stand up? And we'll have to wait and see how quickly this area cools down. But by all accounts, I think we'll start to see La Nina conditions reflected in the atmosphere before we get to the midway point during the summer, even though we won't officially meet criteria by CPC until we get into the fall period. Now, as we look at today's upper air pattern, what we'll notice is we had another upper air low that has been moving across the region, bringing heavy precipitation, started yesterday, and they expect it to continue all today. We expect the heaviest moisture in central Nebraska, and then it will spread toward the east during the evening hours. And as we go into tomorrow, the last of that moisture will start to move to the east of us, bringing precipitation to an end during the morning. And then it looks like we have the potential for dry conditions for the remainder of the week. The only thing that we may see for precipitation may be some residual moisture left out in southwest Nebraska. But as we get into tomorrow, you'll start to see that the trough over the Great Lakes starts to push eastward. We see all this moisture and energy contained to the south of us, and we start to see a ridge building into our region. So a slow warming trend. Probably going to see a little bit of cloud cover in the morning on Monday, but it should dissipate. And as we go into Tuesday, we start to see the ridge taking place and conditions start to warm. As we get into Wednesday, we start to see a good solid ridge building. And as we get into Thursday, we start to see that ridge trying to push eastward. We get another cold front coming from the northern lakes. That's going to increase our wind, so that'll help dry conditions out. And as we get into Friday, here comes the next upper air low, expected to make its way into at least the western half of Nebraska as we get into the day on Saturday, and may actually hold off till Sunday for eastern Nebraska, but this looks like another heavy precipitation event. As we look at the forecast from next Thursday to the following Tuesday, warm to the northwest, cold to the southeast. And in terms of precipitation, here comes that upper air low. Shows a little dryness here in Nebraska, but I think this is overplayed. We'll probably be more into the wet side of this equation.